Welcome to Zoom at Noon. I'm your host, Dale Caldwell, and we have our good friend, Joe Colontonio. Joe, welcome.
Hi, Dale. Great to see you again.
Sue Slavin and Maura Panuski, of the Institute have, have done just great work and really helping us put together this series. And today we're going to talk about coaching, but ICF certification. And a lot of people, even those that love coaching and even those that are being coached, don't really understand the importance of ICF certification. So we're going to spend the next hour really talking about that. But as always, because I love your background and love the way you think, Joe, kind of walk us through, where'd you grow up and how did you end up getting into coaching?
What do they say? The path to get where you want to be is never like this, right? It's always
up and down.
So it's been the up and down, but so I would say that I always like to share my first job because I'm so proud that my first job was in my grandfather's junk shop in Camden, where I was chief pencil sharpener.
Right. At a family business, yes.
Yeah, and that was my job. I was chief pencil sharpener. And then somehow they called it, a rise in job, but then I became, chief sweeper of everything. So it really took me a while. I don't think I ever got into the main office, but so being an entrepreneur was sort of in my blood from a young child. The majority, let me just think of my siblings. I think just about all of them, except for one, is an entrepreneur. And went to college, went to grad school, and started a marketing company because my that's what I went to grad school for. My MBA is in marketing. Right. And I hate to say that I spent the first, I hate to say 20, but 20 is true. The first 15, 20 years of my career making people look great on the outside. And I'm going to spend the next 20 of my career making them feel good and look good from the inside. And that really is, what coaching is. How did I make that actual connection or that jump? The reality is that the more involved I got with organizations in trying to achieve their goals through marketing, the more I really saw the challenges and the internal challenges that they were having.
Right.
And so there was somewhat of a disconnect because you can have the best business strategy, marketing strategy out there, but if you don't have the people or the human capital to execute that strategy that are performing to their best, you're not going to get there. Yep. So those conversations I began having began to become more in depth and deeper. They trusted me with their challenges. And so we tried to begin addressing that. And that's when I said, well, wait a minute, there's something here. And I went back and did some postgraduate work in leadership development, executive coaching, life coaching. Right. It's a tool belt. We always sort of wrap it up in the brand that we're presenting, but when you really peel the onion back, all coaching at its basic level is personal development for professional success. So there is an element of life coaching in there.
But Joe, that's one of the reasons that it's so effective.
Yeah.
You come in, you're hired, you're in a big, high level executive, you bring a coach in and they really force you to really pull things out of you, and work and life are intertwined. The higher you are, they're the same. You can't say, okay, 5:00, I'm a person again, I'm an employee from 9 to 5. That doesn't work anymore. And so coaches are more important than ever to really kind of, deal with that connection.
This is what I tell my clients and my students. The way we do anything is the way we do everything.
Yeah, that's great.
Unless change happens.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So you're a coach.
That's where the work is done. So I began to see this pocket and I thought, let me, learn more because like yourself, we always try to stay on the cutting edge, having the latest, most current information. And So this shift began to happen, where we were doing more and more marketing consulting, more business consulting, more coaching, and then it really got into personal development for professional success. And what we found out is, even though, people, our most important asset is not on our balance sheet, right? People are our most important asset. And if you can have an engaged, thriving culture with employees that are outperforming the competition, and quite honestly, enjoying it and thriving on it, and are intrinsically or internally motivated, those are the best culture that are out there. And that's what truly experienced, professionally educated coaches can do. They can turn around an organization. They
Absolutely.
really.
Well, and part of it, just to really break it down, is that even though they're working or coaching just a few executives, what they're doing is helping those executives utilize their tools to transform the organization, to transform the culture. So I don't think people often understand it. Say, okay, well, Joe needs coaching. Okay, but that coaching with Joe can transform the entire organization. You don't have to coach everybody in the organization. Yeah. And that's so important. You and I know that, but a lot of people who are looking at this don't really understand the real value of that.
And I'm going to do a shameless plug for our program at the Rothman Institute, but what we say and what our goal is that each one of our graduates has the opportunity to change one leader at a time. And what is your emotional wake? Yeah. What is your legacy? So if, that's our way to build and build, and that's really the mindset. And we love working with organizations and leaders that embrace that and that want that, because that's where the growth could happen. So yes, one leader can change an organization.
Absolutely.
10 can do it better. So we're hoping that, we're making an impact, and we seem to be, so we're going to keep doing it.
Well, again, it's let's get to the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. And so, the major sports leagues, have, the governing bodies. They have the Major League Baseball and the United States Tennis Association and the National Football League, and the U.S. Soccer, Major League Soccer.
Absolutely.
But the ICF is really the governing body of expert coaching. So talk a little about that. I don't know if you have any slides, but feel free to share some of those slides too. I
do. I have a few, but all right, yeah. Let me share some slides, but I'll give you a little bit of background. And I did want to make sure that I brought with me the most current. Whoops. I'm not sure what happened there. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
All right. Do you see a slide?
Yeah. I see. Yep. I see the cover. I had a
30-second technical glitch. Okay. So the International Coaching Federation was established in 1995, right? And I want to try to be as precise as I can, since I'm technically not employed by them, right? But I am an ICF credentials coach as yourself, and we do have a ICF accredited coach training program. So it was established in 1995, and it really has become the gold standard in the coaching industry. They are dedicated to advancing the coaching profession, and this is what they say: by setting high standards, providing an independent certification, and building a worldwide network of trained coaching professionals. They are going to approach 50,000 members globally. Wow. Within the next few years.
Wow.
So there was actually in 2022, there was a global consumer awareness survey. And that survey found that 85% of coaching clients, and this is a quote, 85% of coaching clients say it's important or very important that their coach holds a certification or credential. And earning that credential provides you with instant credibility.
Right.
Also provides you with visibility for clients. So the ICF has gone through a lot of changes. recently they've restructured, and I'm just going to give you just a quick slide on their restructuring. So here's the ICF ecosystem, right? There are professional coaches, there's coach education, credentials and standards, thought leadership, the foundation, and coaching and organizations. So they are very diversified within the industry. And they're doing very, very good things around the world. One of the things that I had the privilege to work on with the International Coaching Federation in New Jersey is the Ignite initiative. And we partnered in conjunction with the United Nations. We partnered with all the consortium of homeless shelters in the state of New Jersey.
Wow.
We provided coaches to those homeless shelters where the individual employees requested it. We were able to provide them with pro bono coaching.
Wow.
That last year for a period of time. I believe each person got 10 sessions or so. So we're trying to make an impact, and that was coaches volunteering their time, for the greater good, and how can we make an impact? And the Ignite initiative is a global initiative. So everywhere where there is an ICF chapter, they have the opportunity to participate in something like that. And that's
is that out of the foundation? Is this out of the foundation or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is, yeah. Let's walk through this before we have some time. And so, because this is important for people to understand that. And a lot of these, I'm a member of the ICF, of course, but also the National Speakers Association, which is very, very similar, except on the professional speaking side. And, they have a foundation and awards and certification, but, so coaching in organizations, can you talk a little bit about that? Leave that up. If you can leave that up, I want to go around the circle because we have some time.
All right.
So people really understand, because I think that's important.
Okay. Yeah. I think that, they're really trying to get clarity and to share clarity on what they're doing.
Right.
And I can pull up, just give me a second to do because let's grab it from them. One quick second. Let me pull this up again. I'm trying to get the ICF website up.
Okay.
And it's just interfering with the way I have this set up.
Yeah, but I think it's an excellent organization. It really is very organized, and they've gone through some iterations over the years, and really have refined. It's now the International Coaching Federation.
Yeah.
And so they've
International coaching. They changed it from the International Coach Federation to the
Federation. Exactly.
Yeah.
And refining and so what are the levels? What are the levels while you're doing that? You want to explain the various levels of certification?
I have it back for you. I have 3 monitors here, and sometimes Zoom is not very playful. We like it to play, but it doesn't always play. So the ICF initiatives and coaching organizations, right? They are specifically trying to expand their influence in organizations so that they can actually enhance the market for ICF accredited or credentialed coaches. So that's what they're doing in that area. The ICF Thought Leadership Institute, is that right next to that? I guess we're going.
So we're going. At professional coaches. Yeah.
We'll go to professional coaches next. So professional coaches is what we are. It's that part of the organization that is the membership portion for trained practitioners. And that's where we're seeing our credentials happen. They're actually happening in credentials and standards because they're the governing body that oversees the credential.
Okay, so I'm sharing the website here. So you can see the ICF professional coaches. And then it goes credentials and standards, which you're an expert on.
Credentials and standards are exactly that. They oversee the credentialing of the individual coach practitioners. And that's becoming more and more the responsibility of the educational programs that are aligned or accredited by them. So that's how they're managing that everyone is using the same body of work, credentialing and standards.
Right.
The coaching education oversees programs like the Ignite Excellence in Coaching program, right? They are making sure that everything aligns with the foundation principles, the code of ethics, the mission, values of the ICF organization. And there is a procedure that you go through to be able to develop and educate on that program.
Yes.
The foundation is the foundation that we were talking about with the Ignite program that we launched because of their relationship with the UN. And I think coaching in organizations is where we started. So they are really trying to support us by bringing information and influencing organizations for us to be able to work with them more, meaning credentials coaches.
Right. So the coaching in organizations is that more the team coaching or what?
They're actually just trying to raise awareness and bring information out there. They are not going into organizations to deliver coaching programs. They are raising awareness so that it raises awareness for all of the members.
Right.
It's a support role.
Excellent. And then thought leadership that there is no, coaching evolves. It evolves over time, right?
Absolutely. And what's great about that is that when you're in part of what I love about the International Coaching Federation is that when you're a member of ICF, you have access to a lot of their educational information and materials, and there's always new content, always new information being put on the website.
Yeah, it really is. So let's go back to the, let's see what they have with credentials, because I want people to understand the credentials. So, which is the professional certification. So do you want to talk a little bit about this? So
yeah, so I have, yeah, so I'm going to tell you that there are 3 levels. I was going to see if I had a quick slide in a deck, but I don't. There are 3 levels of accreditation with the International Coaching Federation. And they are based on educational hours as well as experience. So the first level is ACC, which is an accredited certified coach. After you meet your educational requirements, which are 60 hours of coach specific training, there are a few other things depending on the program that you're in that you have to accomplish. You can then sit for the coach's knowledge exam. Once you have 100 hours of coaching under your belt, they require you to keep a log, which you have to submit. The next level of credential is PCC, Professional Certified Coach. That used to be 750 hours. Over COVID, they changed it to 500 hours of coaching. And it is still sitting at 500 hours, at least right now through the end of the year. In order to sit for the PCC level of coaching, in addition to 500 coaching hours, you have to have 125 hours, a minimum of 125 hours of coach training from an accredited program.
Right.
The last level is a master certified coach, which is an MCC. That is a minimum of 200 hours of coach education and 2,000 coaching hours. So you have to go through the process. So you can't go right to MCC, but you can. And they're constantly changing. So that's why I'm being careful, because we just went through a credentialing change. The old programs were ACSTH, ACTP, and now they are level 1, level 2, and there's a new level 3. So that could be an hour on itself. But our program, the Ignite FDU program, was one of the first to be accredited at that level 2 level. So after completing our program, you have all of you have everything completed that you need to meet those requirements, with the exception of your coaching hours. And you have a little over half of them done within the program as well. So,
and it's less expensive than most of the ones, and certainly in this area.
Oh, absolutely.
Across the country. So that's important. And so this is.
I just want to give you that one last piece that they also offer, and they also offer continuing education. It's called continuing coach education, CCEs, right? Which in between each credential, in order to hold that credential, you have to have 40 CCEs. So they are really making sure that we all stay at the top of our game.
Right.
That's really, really important.
And I like this, it's laid out with education. Obviously, you just talked about the experience, actually doing it, the mentor coaching, the performance evaluation, and then the exam. So it's doable, but you have to be focused. This isn't something you can just kind of do on the side and so on. But it's important for executives. And one of the areas that we're targeting in the program now is, and you and I had talked about, so many retired executives have tremendous experience, tremendous expertise. They've managed, but they really don't know how to coach. And so going through the program. So I ask those that are watching this now and those that will watch this on the video, if you know somebody who's retired and try to figure out how do I want to use what I've learned? I don't want to just retire and play golf all the time. I want to play a lot of golf, but I want to do something else. And coaching is like the perfect thing for you to kind of stay in the game, but do it when you want to do it.
Yes. I will say that the program attracts professionals that are some that are looking for career change, some that are transitioning. And I hate to say, we don't say that they're retiring. We say they're graduating for their first career. I got that from one of my students. She graduated from her 25-year career into coaching, right? And so we're seeing a lot of individuals where they're anticipating, like, what do they want to do when they're finished their first career, or when they are retiring, or as we like to say, graduating. We're also seeing equally professionals coming in that are in organizations, and they are coming to learn these skills to bring back to develop their teams under that coach leader model or coach driven leadership. So it's interesting looking at what that wake is like, what is our ripple, where we're touching and how we're touching different people.
Yeah, it really is extraordinary.
And then the third area, Dale, the third person that comes through is people that know that they want to start a coaching business. Right. So they know that they want to come through and they get what they need. And I will tell you that I'd love to come back with some alum of the program, because all you need is one client, and one client pays for the program.
Yeah.
And every semester we have had students who have paying clients after the first cohort. And not just one-on-ones. This time we've got two that have corporate clients.
Nice.
So it's amazing.
And just for folks, so folks know, and I'll just talk about my experience. So the coaching engagements that I've had since when I started will range from $10,000 to $20,000 for a 6-month engagement. So that's per engagement per person. So this isn't chicken feed. I mean, it really is an opportunity for people, and you're transforming lives. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about it. You're actually getting paid to really help people with their careers and really help people see things. And so it's important for people. Frankly, I think every executive that's thinking about retiring should at least consider the coaching. Not everybody can be a great coach, but they should consider that as a potential career, don't you think?
I agree, because they have a lot of wisdom and they have a body of work, and it's a great way to specialize. And I think that, I think at least through our program, we're seeing a trend because of who we're attracting. A lot of C-suite executives, a lot of managers, several people coming from education, where they may have a role with a college or a university, and they want to do this on the side or in conjunction with, or again, as they phase out of, we've had some superintendents come through the program, and they're looking that as they phase out of that, they'd like to do this. So we tend to really attract people that want to help other people, right? And they're at a point in their life where that's a big value to them, and they want to turn that into a career. And
and it's a wonderful culture because of that. It's a group of people that genuinely want to help. They're not in it for the money. They're in it really for that satisfaction.
And I'll tell you, our alumni from the program are very, very active. They stay together in their groups, and fortunately, they invite me back as well. But, someone gets things like this go on. Someone gets a client and they don't know how to price it. So they go to the group and they post, hey, I have this client. Can someone help me? Someone gets a 10-person coaching job and they don't know how to do the contract. Does anyone have a sample contract? And the alumni share with each other. We also have alumni coming together and doing joint projects and work together. So, in whichever program you choose, if anyone is considering doing a coach education program, really look at the alumni base, speak to the alumni, find out what they're doing. Don't just go by, they have great marketing materials. I will tell you that I've had plenty over my career. I have had people reach out to me through LinkedIn to ask me, they're thinking about becoming a coach. This is before I had a program. A coach will talk to you. If you're interested in coaching and you see a coach that's an ICF credentialed coach, they will talk to, they will, I would be really surprised if they wouldn't. It's not often, but throughout my career, I've gotten calls, and you want to share the industry. You want to share being a change agent.
So let's talk about some of we've about a half hour left, about some of the engagements. There's obviously, we're not going to mention names or companies, but I can share, you can share, to really talk about what's kind of the process you've found, and what are some of the engagements you've done.
So we approach, with Ignite, we are very much a boutique style or a boutique driven organization. So it's all about the partnership. So we don't necessarily have canned programs or a la carte programs that you pick from. If you want them, we can give them to you. But our sweet spot is going into organizations and really, like an archaeologist on a dig, discovering what's happening, what's working, what's not working, meeting with our sponsor or the individuals who are hiring us, meeting with the individual team members, and really trying to get an accurate feel on what is really going on. Because the reason that we are hired for all of the problems that are outlined, 90% of the time, they are not the actual problems that are in the organization.
Right.
So what C-suite or what HR tells you the problems are not what the team tells you the problems are. And that's really, for us, that's our magic. That's our spot, to take that and to create a program that will create sustainable change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't really do the one day thing. We're in there, like you said, for a period of months or years, and working to create real sustainable change and organizational cultures that have a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to guess that I bet you your approach is pretty similar.
Well, it's similar. I've done, a lot individual. So I've done, the Viacoms of the world and Kellogg's. And so they'll, and just so people understand, they'll ask for a number of coaches to come in. And so you have a senior executive and they'll say, well, you meet with 3 different coaches. And so they'll meet with me, they meet with a coach from another company and someone else. And then it's really the chemistry. What do they feel like? And that begins the engagement, because a lot of people don't really know the process, and it's different in different places, but in the big corporate process. And so then they select you, and then you really do the onboarding, and you really agree to 6 months, a certain number of times in person, some touches, throughout that process. But, as I've said, Joe, I spent most of my career as a management consultant at Deloitte Consulting. And so, people would call us to come in and kind of tell them, how to improve. And
Right.
Here, we don't do that. We really let the client, we really, have to lay back and say, well, what do you think about that? Now, in your mind as a coach, you're sitting there saying, well, you should do boom, 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 boom.
But you can't.
But that's not what you do. You sit there and say, well, do you think that might be effective, or why might that not be effective? And how are you feeling? And what's grown on, And so those powerful questions and the active listening are really doing that. And it's something that we can talk about, but until you go through a program like the one that Joe has put together, you really don't understand how to do it and the power of doing it a very specific way. Would you say, Joe?
Yes, I agree. And let me take that one step further, because that's the second step in the partnership, is developing a program that includes coaching with the individual team members. And that's where you do the one-on-one work. In addition, people do come to us as coaches. Executives do come to us, as you just said, they want to work on something and they're hiring us privately, or they're working through an aggregator, and that's how you're getting hired. So there are so many different ways to engage with clients. And we talk about a lot of that in the business development arena in the program. But, if anybody is interested in, more information on that, just reach out to me on LinkedIn, and, I'm up for a conversation, and I'm sure Dale would be as well. Or again, any ICF, a credentialed coach, we want to grow the industry with the right credentials. So
absolutely. And other questions I get is so what are some of the challenges? What are you helping them with? What are some of the things? And I know I did an engagement a while ago at Viacom, and so we had an executive who was being considered for promotion, but there were presence issues, that they didn't necessarily present themselves as confidently or, as comfortably, or even to the extent of how they dressed per se for that. And so a lot of corporations will say, okay, we're priming you for leadership, but we want somebody to come in here because you're high potential. One of the mistakes I made, and I had 3 people at Viacom, is that I actually was asked to coach somebody that they weren't happy with. And they were using, this is like my first coaching engagement, and I happened to get 3 of them, and they were asking, for me to basically confirm their decision to get rid of this person. And so you never will ever do that again. And I was naive to do that. And so those kinds of engagements, really the companies are, know that people aren't going to take those anymore. This was more than 10 years ago, but the others are so rewarding. And actually one of my coaches, and this happens, Joe, is another senior person, and really coached him, and he did so well that he ended up getting a job at Google. And so I coached him at Google.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I wasn't trying to encourage him to lead, but really we helped him develop the skills and the confidence to do better, and then go to Google. And I remember, I hadn't been in Google, and they have their five dining halls and all that. This is New York, Google New York. I haven't been out, but it's really just it's exciting interaction with people. You really get a chance to really understand people
Yes,
best of all, you make them, you help them feel good even during difficult situations.
absolutely. Coaching sessions can really facilitate deep change.
Mhm.
And that's, as a transformational coach, if you're trained with that model, that's what you're really looking for. So you're looking to transform perspective,
Mhm.
drive through barriers that are holding you back from success. You're working with mindset, goal achievement, enhancing your executive presence,
Mhm.
creating a style of high performance leadership. And I actually can just pull up because you asked me at the executive level, and I have some numbers too. So let me see what the best way to do that is. This way would probably be the best way to do it. Okay, so within the executive coaching realm, this is a lot of what comes up: elevating leadership skills, perspective, performance, improving clarity around goals and outcomes, moving someone from that planning and strategy mindset to execution. Confidence building comes up, emotional intelligence, leading with influence and impact. Communication and conversation is always something that people want to step up. And here's your dressing, stylizing your executive presence. That comes in sometimes as well. Reducing conflict is another one. And let's not forget high stress levels with balance energy. And that's where we're working on that. And I have some really cool numbers here. This is from the International Coaching Federation. Coaching helps people tap into their potential, unlocking creativity and productivity. These numbers, after working with the coach, ROI, 80% improved confidence, 73% relationships, 72% increase in communication, and 70% in performance. And that was from one-on-one work.
Right.
So those are some numbers. Let me see if I have some numbers from maybe from a different area. I'll have to.
Well, but along those same lines, one of the things I was going to say is once you develop these skills, it becomes extremely useful with your family, with your kids, with your husband, your wife, where you really stop directing. And what this model does is really help people understand for themselves what they should do.
Yeah.
And that is so important. So yeah, let's see these numbers.
This has been the impact of executive coaching. 86% of organizations saw a positive ROI with the coaching engagement. 88% saw increase in productivity when coaching was combined with training. That's the model that we use with Ignite. 98% of individuals who hired an executive coach would coach again, and 89% saw improved communication and optimized individual performance. And this data is all from, it was collected from public research that's out there, either through the International Coach Federation or articles. And that's where we, where we pulled it from. Let me just. Yeah. So, just interesting to look at, right? So, what are people looking for? Very often what they come to you with is not necessarily the breakthrough that they really need. I say that, we're the masters of the ethical bait and switch. They come to us to work with what they want to work on, but we give them what they need to work on. Right?
And part of this, I know a number of the people that are watching, and they have various professions. And so some say, okay, well, I may not want to be a full-time coach, but I'm in, wealth management, or I'm in insurance sales, or I'm in, in that human interaction. And so one of the things we're developing, and coachleadership.com is the website, and Joe's part of the team, is this concept of coach leadership. of really, instead of really kind of directing people, is to really take some of the skills of coaching and really listen to your client. So if, even in sales, you want to, and most people, if you press them, would say, well, I'm not a salesperson. I'm a valued consultant. And so if you're going to be a valued consultant, the key of consulting is to listen. Is to really take the time and listen and really understand what people are saying. And the coaching skills actually help you. They'll help you be a better wealth manager. They'll help you be a better insurance salesperson. They'll help you be a better attorney.
Yeah.
And those skills. And we've had all of those. You've had all of those in your class, right?
Yes. And actually Thomas Leonard, who founded the International Coach Federation, was in finance.
Mm-hmm.
And what he found in doing, as the story goes, he's passed away, but that it was through working with people on, what were they saving for? What did they want to do in retirement? Are they saving for their children's college? He found out that he was getting a lot of information that was really behind the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not necessarily what the numbers were, but what was behind them. And that is really how he's considered one of the, or actually considered in ICF circles as the founder of coaching as we know it today. But he himself was in finance. So and this can work for any industry. I've had clients that have come through the program that were global leaders in organizations in marketing. I've had clients that have come through that maybe had like a regulatory background as C-suite. I mean, very different CFOs have come through, as well as I've had psychologists come through the program, licensed clinical social workers, because we're also seeing a shift there in that they want to use more of a coaching style, but as you know, is very different than therapy. So we're seeing that industry, and I've had those individuals come through the program as well. I've also had licensed hypnotists and hypnotherapists come through the program.
Right.
But the skill can be incorporated. CFPs, gone through a couple CPAs, and as you know, the attorney who came through last semester, who by the way is in an amazing, has changed his career after going through the program and is thrilled about it. So
it
was one of his graduations, right? We talk about, we graduate, we don't retire.
Right, exactly. But it also gets you to really think about yourself and some of the tools you use for coaching others, you can really use for your own growth and development.
Absolutely.
To really begin to think about, what and why, and the Simon Sinek question, why, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you that? And so it's really, really a powerful tool. Go ahead, Joe. There's
something that one of the tools that we use when we talk about listening, right, and the different levels of listening. I always share this acronym WAIT, WAIT. Why am I talking?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all like to talk more than we like to listen. But when we're speaking, we're not learning anything new.
Right.
It's when we're quiet that we can learn something new. So I try to say, prepared to be curious and prepared to be enlightened and delighted by every conversation that you have. Right? What is your takeaway? Look for the nuggets, like be an archaeologist, right? Be prepared to be amazed in every conversation that you have, and you'll be amazed if that's the mindset. Mm-hmm. Instead of, I have 10 minutes, I've got to get this out, or I'm rushing around. It's really making time for those quality conversations. Conversations create quality relationships.
And again, we often say, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Absolutely.
So we need to spend more time listening, but it's, unfortunately, society and business rewards, sometimes people that speak up, that are more aggressive and more boisterous. I think that's changing. And that's why I think too, coaching is becoming, much more accepted and in vogue.
Yeah.
And there are still some dinosaurs that have said, well, I don't need a coach. I don't want a coach. There's nothing wrong with me. And they don't understand that I'm a big tennis guy. And so Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal all have coaches. These are the best in the history of their sport, but they have coaches. So coaching now is really for somebody who's great to become even greater. And so people are starting to really realize that.
We go back to Tim Galloway, who's one of the individuals that's credited with building this body of work. The inner game of tennis. That's where we first saw he tuned into that when he was working with his athletes, they were beginning to visualize, right? What was their inner game? I mean, and you can speak more to this. You're a tennis player, but can you speak a little bit to that versus your inner game and your outer game? The methodology there.
Yeah, so much of it, and in tennis is if you lose some confidence and you're serving, you get two serves, and if you double fault, you lose the point. That sometimes you miss the first serve, you're sitting there saying, okay, I hope I don't double fault, and then you double fault. And so the mindset, and if you look at the greatest players of all time, what happens is they're down match point, but instead of kind of pushing the ball and playing it safe, they go for it, and oftentimes they make it. And so that all comes from that inner game. People think it's the athleticism that they have. No, it's the ability to focus on difficult times, to really laser focus, because we're all going to get difficult times. We're going to have hurdles. We're going to have challenges at work. We're going to have challenges at home. We're going to have challenges in life. We're going to have health challenges, but it's really the people that are able to deal with them. And a coach can really be very helpful.
That's exactly it.
Deal with those and realize and put things in perspective.
Yeah.
The other thing is, Joe, I'm obsessed with trying to do things and to reduce poverty. And there's so many of us, and I often am reminded myself that my worst day is better than 90% of the people's best day around the world. And but we get into this pity party. We get into this, at work and other places, and we lose confidence. And we really need an external voice to really say, well, aren't you the same person you were yesterday?
Yeah.
We're at the top of the world.
Yeah, it really is. It is mindset work. It's that, I'll say it again. It's that personal development for professional success, because, if we're showing up, we're pretty consistent with how we show up, even though, we try to maybe I guess it's ego or whatever it may be, you try to be more professional in a situation than maybe you would be at home, but at your core, your value system is the same. Right. So your mindset is the same. So that's why a lot of times we see people showing up inauthentic, because they're not standing in their integrity. So what do we need to do to work on ourselves so that our value system and who we really are aligns with us, and we're living that truth every day in every interaction we're having, every interaction, so that the transition from your car into your office, or from working at your desk to popping on a Zoom call, is just an easy transition, because you're showing up really as yourself. And I think that coaching mindset really, really helps with that.
And it's important for people to understand that change is a constant, that there's going to be change. There's some real difficult changes. And, and and that's where a lot of people are struggling, that they're changed. I'm used to doing things a certain way. I'm used to working with the same people. But at the end of the day, eventually it's going to change. And how you deal with that change is really important. And that's where you can kind of even self-coach to some extent, to really kind of to think and say, okay, well, what is the best part of this? What is the worst part of this? And really talk to yourself about that. And it's true. And that's why, but the external coaches are even better. People who are trained to really facilitate you and really say, how are you feeling about this? And why are you down about this? And what is the upside of this? And there's always an upside. and there's always a downside. And so it's really important to begin to think about that.
Yeah.
So,
I found that, we have this conversation a lot. Is everyone coachable?
mhm,
Are there some people that are uncoachable? And my answer to that is it usually surrounds the topic of change.
mhm,
When someone comes to you, they're looking for change
mhm,
because the status quo isn't working for them anymore.
right.
And the first step to change is awareness.
Mhm,
So if they're reaching out to you, they're already aware that a change needs to happen.
mhm,
Now, if a client, if an organization is sending one of their leaders to you, similar to the conversation or the client that you had before, a lot of times they're not conscious that there needs to be a change.
right.
So as a coach, our first step is to bring awareness and
Mhm,
to explore around that. And it's there where we will see, are they able, do they want, are they conscious enough to participate in a change to develop themselves?
mhm.
And so that's where I think, Dale, you were saying, like, when the person meets with a few different coaches, you really want that fit.
That
And
connection.
that's another thing I tell my coaches: you do not have to work with everyone that wants to work with you.
Mhm,
You really get to choose. And there are some, because there could be some personal conflicts, some ethical conflicts, that fit, that alliance that we're creating using the core competencies that the ICF gives us. You're really exploring if you can work together, how you work together, and if there's synergy there. And that's very important.
Well, and what happens is, as imperfect human beings, we have narratives in our head. We may have had a bad experience somewhere else, and we're going into something that seems similar, and we're saying, "Oh, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work." And so part of the coaching is to really let people know that every day is different. Every situation is different. There's no situation that's exactly the same, because it's a different time. It's a different place. It's often even the same people are different. And so when we do that, we have to give things a shot. And so that's why I always resist when people say, "Well, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't." My mom used to say, and she's right over here, can't doesn't live here anymore. So,
Yeah.
so it's part of being open. Now, again, it may be difficult, it may be a challenge, but we don't grow unless we give new opportunities a chance.
I have one for your mom. I
Yeah.
have one for you to give to your mom.
Yeah.
That doesn't live here anymore. How about, I should do this, I should do that? How about stop shooting all over yourself?
I like that. I like that. Though, when I was growing up, I'd be a little racy for my mom, but
Oh. Well,
she's
it should,
a Southern lady.
right?
Exactly.
We use that when we, that's a way. So humor
Yeah, right.
is a
Exactly.
technique. The
Which
technique
is powerful technique.
is a very powerful technique.
Powerful technique.
And sometimes, again, with the right chemistry, you'll say, "Why are you shooting all over yourself?" And they're like, "What?" Right?
I love it. I haven't used that, but I like that. I like that.
But it shifts the energy. Another one of my favorites is, "How's that working out for you?"
Right.
Again, but that's in you using that. Now, in a different situation, as coaches, we're flexible. It may be delivered as, something as, from what you've been telling me, you've been using this system or this process over and over again.
Right.
What are some of the results that you're getting?
Right.
Now, that's a different way to say, "How's that working out for you?"
How's that working? Yeah, exactly.
But it depends. Are you using humor? What are you using? I mean, we're not robots. Like, we have to meet the client where they are and adapt to their style. So I also have a very sophisticated term for that voice that's always telling you, not good enough, not going to work out. Do you want to know what my scientific sophisticated word is?
What is that?
The already always talking voice.
They're already always.
It's already always talking. Like, even right now.
Right.
It's funny, right?
Yes.
So it's the already always talking voice. And when I say that, people laugh because they get it, right? We all have it. We are human. And one of the things that we work on, if the client is ready to do the deep work, is to learn how to quiet that voice,
right,
and begin to systematically change our automatic thoughts.
right.
And
right.
there are very sophisticated techniques around that for real. But again, if we stay in that mindset, it goes back to the way we do anything is the way we do everything. If we allow that voice to continue, and we continue to listen to that voice, then change can't happen. But when somebody is aware that they don't want to listen to that voice, or that voice isn't serving them anymore, that's when they're ready for change. So ultimately, people are coming to you for change, or they're being sent to you for change. And, it's up to the coach as to the methodology that they're going to use. I will say that as coaches, we always must hold our client in the highest positive regard, and meet them where they are and support them through that change.
And through the change. And that's the key word, is that there are always changes is a constant. Change is going to happen. Now, sometimes it's big changes, sometimes it's small changes. I've had times where it's hard to deal with the change, but I've accepted that. And I look at change as opportunity, and for me, every time something bad has happened, every single time something incredibly much better happens. So I've learned not to, as we get more experienced, you start to think back, wow, if I was dealing with certain situations, I would panic in the past. And now I really realize that this change is part of growth. It's part of development. It's part of opportunities. And so sometimes, so I used to work with Right Management, which placed people who were laid off. And I used to say, how many of you didn't like their job? They've been there 20 years at a pharmaceutical or something, and they didn't like their job. And I said, shame on you. You've been pushed off the treadmill you were on that you didn't like. Shame on you if you get back on that same treadmill, because it's comfortable. And a lot of people do that. Now's your opportunity to really say, what am I all about? What do I want to do for the rest of my life? And so I think it's important. So, well, Joe, we're at time. And so thank you. Any final word? This is always
it's always been a pleasure. I think we're going to have a coach's corner first Friday every month, talking about topics. So come back, brainstorm with us, bring questions, participate in the conversation, because in coaching, it is all about the conversation.
And so, Joe, if they want to contact you, what's your number?
It's just ignitebusinesspartners.com. You can get to me through the FDU website. You can get to FDU through my website. Okay. It's been a pleasure, Dale. And as
always,
time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Then thank you all for coming, and have a great weekend.
All right, thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thanks, Joe.